If you put together a couple YouTube videos and you can't come up with an idea to make the next one, is that considered writer's block? In any event, I finally got together some footage and a couple ideas about something that I want to convey that I had a difficult time getting my head around. Well, after the first gust that caused me to move a little further down the field, you'd think I would have decided to just not fly. But it was only 8:30 in the morning and it looked so nice. There was a nice little bit of a breeze, so my preference is to reverse launch. But man, did I regret it. I just no sooner cleared the tops of the trees here and I was into pretty strong turbulence and struggling with motor performance to overcome some of the downdrafts. I turned right back around and tried to get back into the same general area where I'd been setting up at, and that V shape in the field there created by the trees on the right hand side and the row of hangars made that almost impossible. I was worried about rotors on the downwind side of those hangars, so I continued on past that point and landed about midfield. Packed up my equipment and was happy to be back on the ground in what might go down as one of the shortest paramotor flights in history.
I'm going right back in. It's way too bumpy, way too thermally.
The good news is there's almost always a better day to fly out in the future.
Last time I took off, I regretted it. If I get airborne tonight, it might be a little bit of a humanitarian mission. See, maybe with the paraglider we can find the poor guy. It's a recovery at this point. He's been missing for 4 days.
Well, my intent at this point was to climb for altitude and head out over the lake. I know this section of the lake very well. I've lived there for 20 years, so I know pretty much every landmark and every low water cove and all of the spots where people tend to boat. But the higher I got, the more I realized that the waves on the lake were still in the 1.5 to 2 foot range, and I figured that the windy weather that we had that stirred the water up and the chop on the lake would make searching by any means to be pretty ineffective. So I decided to scrap any attempts to help in the search and instead concentrate on something I've been trying to convey and demonstrate for a long time, and that is a relationship of brakes, brake pressure versus brake position, brake application rates, and how different trim settings affect roll rate with the brakes.
Well, it's definitely cooler than the last couple times I have flown. Summer's almost over. So, applying the brakes more quickly doesn't have nearly as much of effect as applying the brakes more deeply. So unlike a general aviation airplane where if you whip the stick around, you get a lot more turn rate. In a paraglider, you have to hold it to increase the bank, and that's what gives you the turn rate. Of course, if the wing is in a little bit more of a trimmed out position, the brakes are harder to pull because there's more pressure in the wing.
As soon as I'd set the wing down after landing, I realized that I didn't fully convey or demonstrate what I really wanted to. Primarily, the quick, rapid snapping of the brake line downward doesn't do much of anything, and pretty typically with all aviation vehicles, abrupt control inputs are never the answer to the desired outcome, except in possibly extreme emergency situations like terrain avoidance or mid-air collision avoidance. Almost always your pressure should gradually increase until you get the change rate that you're looking for, and then you should hold that pressure until you want to begin lessening that rate of change, whether it's pitch or roll or even thrust applications. So I packed up my stuff and headed back down to Florida and met up with a couple guys that gave me a few more pointers on roll rate.
Well, isn't that cool?
So I met up with some Orlando guys that I'd met through social media. And the plan was to take off and fly together. They had said they'd ventured as far as 38 or 39 miles north of where we were launching from. And I thought that'd be a fun thing to do, but I ended up blowing my first launch and never got airborne in a timely fashion, so they went off without me, and I don't blame them. The good thing is we were sitting around talking about where they were going to fly to and paragliding in general. The conversation came up about, is there anything that I needed some pointers on? Both of these guys have been flying for 5+ years. And Tyler suggested that as I work into deeper and steeper turns in particular, that I pay particular attention to the position of my brakes.
Didn't go.
Or my brake handle, inboard versus outboard. Well, launch number 2 was a go, and I got airborne and out over the water and decided to give it a try by pulling more inboard and getting more tip deflection. For some reason, I sort of had it in my mind that the risers being under tension just couldn't be moved much with brake deflection, inboard versus outboard versus straight down from the pulley's attachment point. But that's not really true. Pulling inboard on the brake as you pull tension on the line actually warps the wing tip more, resulting in a faster roll rate, almost as fast as a well-coordinated weight shift turn with brake application. The turn tends to be flatter with the brakes, and the roll rate with the wing tip bent in towards you is significantly faster and significantly steeper for the same amount of pressure at a given speed.
Oh yeah, much more roll rate, very helpful tip. Tyler told me on working on my trim inputs that if I pull across, I use more wing tip, it increases the roll rate, and boy, it sure does. See, it's the little things like that that now make me say, you guys that are considering this, maybe consider getting some instruction. All right, well, turn around and head back the other way. I think we see each other. Surfer the bar, live music all day. It's a little trick that Eric likes to play on guests. It takes the windsock down while they're flying.
Yeah, you had it pretty good there. You were in the direction.
Seems kind of quick. I don't know. There's not much wind now.
It died. It was like 4 miles an hour.
What's with you, Michael?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, my leg gave out, my back gave out.
That's sporty.
Yeah, baby, hold it, hold it. Yeah.
I Well, maybe I can ride my Segway in the Venetian.
Can I ride my Segway in the hotel? In the casino? Alright. Hey, one question. Can I ride my Segway in the casino?
I don't think so, to be honest. They're pretty strict on that. Talk to security first.
Thanks. Hey, Kevin, can I ride my Segway in the hotel?
You cannot.
Huh?
You cannot.
Okay. So no.